Alright, this video will be titled Problems with the Korean Education System. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, well, you just did a video about the American education system. You know what? Like, doesn't that mean Korea is better? Actually, no. If I had kids, which I plan to someday, far, far in the future, I don't want them here in Korea. It's pretty crazy. Kids have 12 subjects in school. There's 12 subjects. I don't even remember what they all are. I know that, of course there's math, science, history, but actually there's two histories. There's Korean history and world history. As a history teacher, that makes me smile. But there also is an ethics class, which I think is kind of strange, I guess it's don't do this, don't do that. Yeah, strange. Well, actually, let me get back to the standardized testing point. I know that Korea, culturally, is very close to China. And China, for thousands of years, was based on a meritocracy system. That means the people who got the highest scores on tests were ultimately the bureaucrats of the country. And that mindset still exists today. If you get the highest scores on the test, you're the best. Like, in America, if you get the highest score on a test, you're a nerd. You're not really cool. But in this country, you'll get laid. You'll be like, yeah, I got the highest score on the Korean equivalent of the SAT. Women will want your body. It's kind of scary. Well, not really scary. It's freaking awesome. But, yeah. Alright, and another point to make is back to that intense testing period. Yeah, it's a whole week of testing, but, in American schools, during those, star testing periods, the kids, it's okay, kids, remember to eat breakfast and stuff like that. In Korea, even first graders stay up until 1 in the morning the night before studying their butts off. Holy cow. So much studying, even at a young age. One of my favorite kids came to me today in my class, and she was usually this happy-go-lucky kid. She was almost crying. And I was like, Amy, what's wrong? She says, teacher, mother's so mean. She make me study all night. And I felt so bad. And, yeah, it's not a way to raise a child. And that'll bring me to my next point. I don't actually work at a Korean public school. I work at something called a Hagwon, which is an after-school program where kids do more learning. And almost every kid is in these. Every kid. All. It's shocking. See, my job starts at 4 in the afternoon and ends at 10:30 at night. And I see 2 classes. Each class meets for 3 hours. And these classes are, about 12 kids who are all just learning English from me. And, especially the class that starts at 7:30 and ends at 10:30. Yeah, today I had a class of elementary schoolers who learned English from me from 7:30 at night to 10:30 at night. And some of them told me it takes them an hour to get home with the bus and other stuff. So you get elementary schoolers who get home from school at 11:30 and still have to do homework. Crazy. Crazy. So many of my kids, especially my middle schoolers, my elementary schoolers still got the energy for it. I don't even know how. But my middle schoolers, they're just tired. Oh my God. They're so tired. Teacher, sleep. Teacher, sleep. All the time. And I'm trying to keep them going. I understand they're in a bad position, but I still got to do my job. Learning occurs, but sometimes it's tough. It's just these kids are put through a lot. Which will lead me to my next point. Guess what country has the highest suicide rate in the world? Bonk, bonk, bonk. South Korea. And, yeah, it's wild. For example, the Korean equivalent of the SAT, Shoot, it was told to me earlier today. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's so crazy what the kids do for it. Some kids, they take a full year off after they graduate high school and they just study for this test. The Korean equivalent of the SAT. It's the same concept as the SAT. It's the test you need to go into college. And they study for a whole year. Like, there's special programs at my Hagwon and other Hagwons which are just designed for preparing kids for that one test. And during the test, like, the kids' parents wait outside the building where they're doing the test, and they set up, like, prayer shrines. And they just camp out there praying that their child will do well on this test. Another strange thing, during that test period every year, the Korean government stops all air traffic. Yeah, they stop all planes from flying over any city that has these tests going on because, you know, the thought is like the noise from the planes would, you know, distract the students taking the test, or maybe like, you know, the light from God would somehow be reflected away from them by an aircraft. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of funny. This country is crazy about it. And kind of the bigger thing is when these kids are, you know, taking 12 classes a day and then they see me for 3 hours afterwards. Oh, English isn't the only Hagwon. There's also math Hagwons, science Hagwons, music Hagwons. You know, kids tell me that pretty much every single day they have 1 or 2 Hagwons. So, you know, there's just like whole periods where they are rarely ever at home. Oh, another good point. One of my kids told me, like, "Oh, teacher, I'm so excited that it's Tuesday." I was like, "Why is it Tuesday? Or why are you so excited?" And he says, "Because today I can game." I'm like, "Wait, you this is the only day you can play video games?" And he says, "Yes, teacher, yes." He was so excited. Like this, you know, 5th grade kid has only 1 day a week to play video games. Now, when I grew up, I played video games 5 hours a day, every day. So, yeah. If you're a kid in America, you think you got it bad, come to Korea. Then we'll talk. Another big thing. American schools have like winter break and summer break. Korean schools also have those, but not the way American schools do. Because whenever Korean schools have a break, Hagwons work double time. Yeah. So, if you're a Korean kid, it's like, oh, winter break starts next week. Oh, but now all my days will be filled with 6 hours of English instead of just 3. So it's no advantage to be on break. In fact, it's probably a disadvantage because you're now like intensely into these subjects. Oh my gosh. Being a kid in Korea is tough. Like, all my kids who like still smile and are like energetic through it all, like I give those kids so much credit, because holy cow, it must be tough. Yeah, I don't know, man. Korean kids. All I can say is, if you're an American kid, be thankful. Thank everyone. But through all of this, though, Korean kids, yeah, I mean, they're tired and stuff, but they have largely a good attitude. You know, the vast majority of my kids still willing to sit down, willing to stay there for 3 hours, give me respect, answer my questions. You know, definitely the caliber of kid here is much more professional, much more polite, much more willing to learn than the average American kid. You know, I had kids like spit on me in America. Yeah, that was fun. Korea, not the case. Korea, you know, so many more kids are just willing to be their active participants. But God, it's tough for them. Just so much work. So yeah, summarizing it up, this crazy emphasis on tests, crazy emphasis. the large amount of just drilling knowledge into kids for 12 hours a day. And I mean, you really see it in the kids. They have this just lack of creativity and a lack of will, because just 12 hours a day, people tell them what to do. People tell them how the responses, tell them the correct answers, and it's just these kids lose their souls, man. Like suicide, it's a serious problem. Stay in America if you're a kid. Don't come here. Peace out.